Well, good morning, guys. We are at episode 46, I believe. And this morning, I am going to start by taking and moving these link mounts at the axle out this way a little bit. What I found last week, after I got these upper shock mounts mocked up and I flexed out the buggy, I found that the shock at full articulation, meaning when this side was all the way up, this side all the way down, I had a little bit of breakover on the shock. And breakover means that it went past vertical in the wrong direction. So you can see these shocks are fairly straight up and down. At ride height, they're probably at about 2 degrees inward at the top. So the breakover at full articulation wasn't really bad, but it was definitely past vertical. So the bottom side was going inward more than the top side. And that's just a symptom of having all the droop and the articulation that this buggy has. So I can help that a little bit by moving these lowers out a little bit, because the shocks are mounted on the trailing arm or on the link, and these aren't the permanent links. I'm gonna build fixed trailing arms, but I just want to move those out a little bit, and that should help that breakover quite a bit, even if I move them out by just an inch. So I'm gonna do that first thing this morning. That's gonna lengthen out the lowers a little bit, and then check my pinion angles, make sure the drive shaft's happy after that, and then we'll go on from there. Here we go. All right, so this is what we got going. So I've got this thing nearly at full bump. I can't go, whoops, hand in the frame. I can't go much higher because the axle just slips off the jack. Really the right way to do this is with a forklift, but I'm using what I got right now because I don't have springs on this thing yet. So I have to support the belly with the lift. I'm just checking this thing. So, or I'm just using what I got. So last week, and I have photos, I'll throw them up. The shock, because of the way the axle articulates so much, this swings down and in. And so the shock would go past vertical this way. So the bottom shock mount would kick this way toward the center of the chassis too far, and that is what's considered breakover. So too far meaning past vertical. Anything past vertical this way toward the chassis on the bottom mount is breakover. Right now, I can just tell by eye it's still slightly that way, which is exactly what I was going for. By moving this bottom link mount out 1 inch, that gave me the right amount of swing I need to make sure that this thing doesn't kick past vertical. But just to double check, I'm going to put an angle finder and a level on it real quick. So right now it's at, angle finder shows 81, or sorry, angle finder shows 89.1. That means I still got 1 more degree to go before this is 100% vertical straight up and down. And then I would get into breakover range, meaning this kicks in more. So I'll just double check it with the level. Yeah, the bubble shows that I'm still back toward this way just a little bit. I'm almost 100% level, but the bubble is on the line on this side. So we're good. What I've done. So mission accomplished. I had to lengthen out the upper link mounts to get the, make sure the drive shaft was happy, but it is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. And you can tell that, yeah, this thing is got a ton of articulation. It still has more shock shaft showing there before I get the full bump, but that's as much as I can do with this jack before it slides off the axle and causes a wreck. So yeah, I think that's great. And then I drooped it out. I lost a little bit of down travel because I lengthened out and moved out these bottom links, but I had to also lengthen out the top links to get that drive shaft happy, which is a good thing because it makes the pinion to where it's not diving so much at full droop. So all good, mission accomplished. We'll move on. All right, so I got this lacing tube in, and then there'll be another one that goes from here down to this node down here. This one was quite a bit more tricky, but I've got it pretty well set up. It'll go right there like that, and then I got to work on the opposite side over here. Basically the same thing. This one here is kind of roughed in. I still got to do some adjustment to it, and then there'll be another one just like this one I just did, except for reverse, that'll go up to this tube. Alright, so I got these bracing tubes in. They're just tacked in there. Now I think I'm going to work on this rear fender tube. I have something that kind of goes in here like this. Kind of hard to see. Something like that. This tube here is just a little bit too short. I want that junction up here to come underneath this brace tube for the shock mount right here. I want it to come up right underneath here and kind of tie in right there. This tube's a little bit too short, so I think what I'm going to have to do is roll some more tube. So we'll do that. This is about 35 inches long. I'm going to calculate 38 times 2 plus the offset for the tubing roller. Then I'll cut a piece, which is about 100 inches, and go ahead and start rolling the tube. I'm going to try to do this with a GoPro. It's on a stick, so I've got this notched both ends, and it's pretty close. You can see the tube. What I've got to do is I've got to notch it around this cross tube right here where my index finger is. So as soon as I get that relieved in there, that'll suck this edge up, get all that gap out of there, and it'll be a nice notch. So here we go. Well, I'm gonna call it a day. Got the fender tubes added, and they are coming up and supporting this tube. It's basically right centered on this tube that's supporting the shock mount. Everything's just tacked in for now. I want to weld out the bottom side of this tube before I weld this in, so I won't have access to it. So I just tacked it in. I'll break the tacks when I weld everything out. These lacing tubes are done, and I think that's all I'm going to do for lacing on the back. I was kind of thinking maybe I should do something from there up to here, but I think that's just too much, and it's going to interfere with the fuel cell. So I think this is going to be plenty strong the way it is. Kind of just really wanted to make sure I had plenty of support for this sort of basket in here for the spare tire, or the truck bed, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's nice to get it outside and be able to walk around it. So anyway, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.